What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Tony G back at it with another video. Check out my friend. I seen y'all guys like the other video that I watched from Trap University, so we're gonna keep checking out these videos about how dangerous Mexico really is. It get wild around the world, so we're gonna check out how deep in the trenches Mexico could really get.
Is the Mexican government corrupt? Yes, partially, but are they actually cooperating with the deadliest cartels in Mexico? In May, a music group from Mexico was on tour before they went missing. On their last social media post, they were singing at the McAllen-Hidalgo International Bridge, which is the crossing point between Texas and the Mexican state of Tamaulipas. They were standing on the Mexican side of the border, and possibly this same night at around 10 p.m., they were kidnapped in the city of Reynosa, and days later, all 5 bodies were found, possibly burned. Then, during a missing person search in the city of Irapuato, using radar and cadaver dogs, the dogs made a discovery of 17 bodies.
God damn! 17 bodies? Bro. That dude's a fucking murderer. He's a motherfucking serial killer. But alright, let's just keep going.
My God, the state that this happened in is simultaneously a tourist destination and the deadliest state in Mexico. So we have 22 deceased in 2 incidents that happened in the same week, within 2 days of each other actually. And then when I first saw this video, I had no idea what I was looking at until I read that this is actually a Mexican police department and the Gov'T cartel working in cooperation.
It's okay. I mean, what do you expect, bro? When you don't make enough money, and the other guys that are your enemies are doing more than you are, bro. That are putting people more on than you. You know what I'm saying? People, you know what I'm saying? When you can barely buy a new pair of shoes, which a police check, and these guys are rolling up in new cars and smoking weed and doing drugs and fucking other hoes. You know what I'm saying? The bad life might get to you, bro. You know what I'm saying? You might think, fuck this shit, I want to live it right now, you know what I'm saying? Or you might try to however long it takes, grind it out, however long it takes. And you might just get it when you're 50 years old, whoever knows.
A recent comment stating that I should shed some light on the fact that the cartels in Mexico aren't just thugs, because some of them are actually politicians, or at least working alongside the government. There were 35 politicians murdered all during the 2024 election cycle in Mexico, with many of these likely being a result of multiple cartels. Now, a couple things I want to touch on first is Mexico being called a narco state, and where the cartel gets all this military equipment.
What did he say?
On first, with many of these likely being a result of multiple cartels. Now, a couple things I want to touch on first is Mexico being called a narco state.
He said Mexico being called a narco state. Mexico's a country, bro. How is Mexico a state? Culiacan is the narco state. If you look up Culiacan, Mexico, oh my God, bro.
And where the cartel gets all this military equipment. Now, at first, I didn't think the term narco state was fair in describing Mexico, because of course many people in the Mexican public are against the existence of cartels, and some have even formed militias to fight against them. Also, all politicians are not complicit in collusion with the cartels, as some have even been killed for speaking against them. Now, a narco state normally refers to a country whose economy is dependent on the drug trade, and that's not entirely true for Mexico, as the country generates about $30 billion each year from tourism alone. But looking at it in a less narrow sense, a narco state doesn't necessarily mean that the entire country is involved. It just means that all legitimate institutions, such as local government and police, became penetrated by the drug trade. Now, according to a data leak in Mexico from 2022, there was allegedly a top law enforcement officer taking a $250,000 a year salary from a cartel to protect them, which tells me 2 things.
He was getting $250,000 a month, bro. A fucking month. That guy was making $1 million every 4 months. So he made roughly 2 million with 2,500,000. 2,500,000. You made 2,500,000. 2,500,000 in a fucking year. 2.5 million, bro. Fuck, dude. That's a lot of fucking cash, bro.
One, 250K is probably how much it costs the cartels to pay for a police department. And two, if they're willing to pay this much to one guy for his department to look the other way, there must be some departments that don't look the other way. But we know that as clashes between cartels and the military or local police are well documented on several videos. And this same leak also seemingly provides an answer to my second question, as the leak also alleges that some soldiers in the military were actually documented selling weapons to the cartel. Now, it's well known that a lot of their firearms come from gun smugglers in the U.S., and this is not including the U.S. military operation known as Fast and Furious, where in an attempt to sell and then track illegal firearms, the U.S. allowed nearly 2,000 weapons to be smuggled into Mexico to track them, but they ended up losing over 1,000 of them, some of which were used on Mexican citizens, and at least one of them almost shot down a helicopter. Sorry,
Damn.
4 helicopters. This was a 6 terabyte leak orchestrated by an anonymous group in Mexico. And this is just over the military. Recently, the U.S. banned the governor of Baja California from...
How the fuck did niggas get 6 terabytes of data, bro? I can barely get fucking 28 fucking gigabytes, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm still on fucking gigabytes. I think you got fucking 6 terabytes, bro. That's a lot of fucking storage, dude. How the fuck you get that much fucking storage? I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke. I'm here. I'm struggling, bro. Fucking try to fucking subscribe and like my videos, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Entering the United States due to some alleged involvement in illegal activities by either her husband, or both of them. And this led to a fake list coming out alleging that several members of the Mexican government have been banned from entering the U.S., which the U.S. Embassy in Mexico has since debunked. What hasn't been debunked is Mexico's former president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Now, the DEA arrested a man only known as an operative on drug charges in 2010. And to avoid federal prison, this operative agreed to provide the DEA with information on an operation he was a part of, in which the operative helped deliver cash donations to Obrador during his first presidential campaign on behalf of an unnamed cartel, referring to them as one of the country's biggest drug mafias. $2 million in donations, and Obrador lost the election. Now, he eventually did run again and win, and this president, as well as his party, the National Regeneration Movement, also known as Morena, have come under a lot of scrutiny, such as when the families of missing people stated that the former president was downplaying how many people actually go missing each year, as well as these same families stating that many of their loved ones who are missing do not appear on the registry of missing.
This guy lies about how much people go missing per year. I seen a video where it was a group of mothers. It was a group of moms that was like that built a team. It was a group of mothers looking for their missing child, bro. That's how deep this shit gets, bro. That's how common it is for people to go missing. It's moms that get together looking for their kids, bro. And they like it's like. And like after a while, bro, after fucking a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, after 4 weeks, after 5 weeks, after a month of you gone missing, bro, what do you think happened to you, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, it should get wicked, bro. It's wild. I don't know what to think about this no more.
People. Regardless of this controversy, the party still rules today, with the current president being a member. So one of the most well-known cartels is the Gulf Cartel, and I want to speak on them to show the difference between corruption and defection. Now, a politician taking campaign money from the cartel, or a police commander taking a paid salary to protect the cartel while still being employed by the government.
When my doctor said I needed to eat healthier for my high blood pressure, I was at a loss until I found Hungry Root.
That is corruption. But what happened to Rolando Lopez Salinas was a result of defection, and I guess the entire formation of the Los Zetas cartel. Now, we know what a defector is, right? For example, when a person escapes from North Korea to live a better life in South Korea or anywhere else, they're known as defectors. The same with a soldier who switches sides and joins the country he was fighting against. Now, Rolando was a high-ranking member of the Gulf cartel, and he was killed in 2018. But about 20 years before that, he was the subject of multiple assassination attempts. Now, the Gulf cartel and Los Zetas used to be one, with Los Zetas being formed from members of the Mexican Special Forces that defected from the military to become the enforcement wing of the Gulf Cartel. Now, due to a disagreement, an enforcer in Los Zetas convinced 34 members of the Special Forces to help him assassinate Rolando.
Bro, this is what...
In Los Zetas convinced 34 members of the Special Forces to help him assassinate...
Yeah, when I was little, when I was like 5 years old, right? So I knew there was organized crime in Mexico because I have family that live in Mexico, right? And I was like, so this disease, the Z's, like the Z's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the same shit like the motherfucking Haitians, like the Z's, los Zetas. Them guys really strapped up with fucking bazookas and motherfucking grenade launchers and motherfucking, you know what I'm saying, AK-47, bro. They got motherfucking special op guns, dog. Look at my man right here in the bottom, bro. That boy's motherfucking he's on Call of Duty mode, nigga. They all on Call of Duty mode, dog. All of these guys are on Call of Duty, bro. All of these guys play Call of Duty in real life, nigga. All these guys probably dropped a bunch of kills and haven't fucking died yet, dog. Real shit, bro. All these guys are killers, bro. Real shit, bro. Real shit.
Assassinate Rolando. 7 of them arrived at Rolando's safe house around 1999, where during a shootout, one of them shot a gas tank causing an explosion, but Rolando was able to escape. Now, Los Zetas is known for their brutal military tactics, and Rolando knew that he had to take extra precautions. The next year, him and his security were traveling in an armored Escalade when they noticed 2 cars with their hoods raised as if they were having engine problems, while in fact, they were actually just blocking the road to set up an ambush. But due to the vehicle being bulletproof, Rolando once again survived the attack, and these attacks relentlessly continued from 1999 to 2018 until he was finally killed. But that just sums up how dangerous certain cartels are due to the fact that Special Forces operatives have defected and become their own crime syndicate. But I feel that the best way to find people who work in the government and with the cartels is to look toward one of the most unsuccessful wars in history, the war on drugs. Officially beginning in 1971, since then cartels and mafias have only become more powerful and wealthy, because you can't just take out a leader since another one will follow, and you can't destroy a cartel that makes a lot of money if you have too many poor people that need work. And once blood is shed, like it has been for several decades, the seeds of chaos are already sown. So this brings us to a guy named Genaro Garcia Luna. He was a big-time government employee, so big that for 6 years he was the Secretary of Public Safety in Mexico, a position that doesn't even exist anymore, probably because of him. This position put Genaro over the Federal Police Force, or the Federales, basically the FBI of Mexico. Now, from 1989 to 2000, he worked for the National Intelligence Center, which is like the CIA of Mexico.
So this guy was just the head of the CIA and the FBI, right? Okay.
And in 2000, he was named the Director of Planning and Operation for the Federal Judicial Police Force.
Alright, so my man's setting up all the plans. He's the head of everything. My man's the motherfucking boss, bro, of the police. He's the boss of head general of the police. Okay.
But within 5 years, he already had his first scandal when he staged a kidnapping rescue. Live.
He staged a kidnapping rescue? So the person was already pre-kidnapped? Did the person know they was gonna get kidnapped? Was it like a prank? I mean, it's alright to fake one. You know what I'm saying? They fake YouTube pranks all the fucking time. Motherfucking. So was it for his YouTube channel?
Turns out the actual kidnappers were already in custody, and quickly moving past that scandal, he started to raise eyebrows when he was acquiring luxury items like new cars and a mansion, and he was unable to account for all of this money as it was well beyond the means of a Mexican civil servant salary. This is all while he was...
So at his highest peak of his job, he was still not making enough money to get what he wanted? That's crazy. And other guys bought it for him. So the kidnapping was already, so the guys were already in jail that had the person kidnapped, but I don't understand it. Makes no sense to me.
Was a leading figure in the Mexican drug war, but somehow he managed to leave office without being investigated, and within a year, departments have been dissolved, and he was named one of the most corrupt politicians in Mexico in 2013. But he and his wife took their money and retired in Miami, Florida. But then in 2018, during the trial of El Chapo, an associate of El Mayo testified that Genaro had been in fact bribed by the Sinaloa cartel when they were bringing him suitcases filled with millions of dollars.
That's insane. Former Mexican Secretary of Public Secretary arrested for drug trafficking conspiracy and making false statements. That's insane, bro. Why would you lie? I mean, for the money, right? Genaro Garcia Luna allegedly received millions of dollars in bribes from a Chapo Sinaloa cartel. For immediate release, U.S. Attorney's Office. Damn, bro. This many fucking headlines, bro. You made the motherfucking top of the top, bro. U.S. District Attorneys, bro. This is how serious it got, bro. Like, bro, damn. That's insane. Richard P. Doge United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York announced the charges. Bro, it's insane, but like you're going against the toughest of the toughest in the judicial part, bro. Like getting a lawyer is hard, bro. Imagine being a Chapo's lawyer, bro. That's so hard, bro.
This man was over the department with the biggest budget from the Mexican government. He was one of the most senior members of government, and he was actively on the payroll of the Sinaloa cartel. And for some reason, after all of this came out in U.S. federal court, he continued to stay in the United States, probably thinking that the federal case in New York was too far to reach him in Florida. But of course, nowhere is too far for the feds, and 10 months after El Chapo was found guilty, Gennaro, for some reason, went to Dallas, Texas, where he was promptly arrested by the...
This is the worst place you can go as a Mexican trying to flee Mexico is go to the United States. Why would you try to go to the United States? The United States is already the worst part you could be, bro. It get even tighter, bro. They're so synced into everything, your phone, your computer, your house, where you live. The police are out here looking for everything, trying to sniff up everything as they can, bro. They got cameras, bro. Bro, you try to pass a fucking red light, you get ticketed, bro. Like, man, you don't even try nothing, bro. Because, you know what I'm saying? Just stay safe, you know what I'm saying?
FBI. Shortly after this, Mexico wanted him extradited, but the feds had other plans, and currently he is sitting in federal prison in Virginia. And in 2025, a Florida court ordered Gennaro to pay $748 million to the Mexican government, while his wife was ordered to pay $1.7 billion. US dollars. I'm not sure if the Sinaloa paid them that well, but I think the point was kind of to bankrupt them. It's pretty much overkill though, since he was already serving 38 years, and the more data leaks that come out, the more confirmation we'll get for what we pretty much already believe is going on. Now, there are several Mexican politicians that have been accused of taking bribes, but is this really corruption? Well, yeah. I mean, you can argue that some of them might be underpaid, but you can also argue that when the cartel comes to you with a proposition, it may be one that you can't refuse, because it seems like with the power and equipment that cartels have, they don't actually have to negotiate with you, as politicians being killed is fairly common. In fact, during the reign of the current president, a very high-level politician was killed. So could a lot of these politicians just be simply coerced into taking these bribes? Or else. Because, again, if the cartel offers you a bribe and you refuse, they could look at this as you actually going against them, and you can end up in a ditch. The line is very blurred between what these politicians actually have control over and if they're willingly taking bribes or forcefully. Because there's just no way that I believe that a politician can sit here and bargain with the cartel over how much they should pay him. It's probably the other way around, and the cartel just makes enough money to make the offer handsome. But there's much more I could say on this, and if you guys like this video, let me know, and we could do an even deeper dive on whether cartel corruption goes all the way to the office of the president, which I'm sure many Mexicans would agree it does. But thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
It's actually insane how corrupt the government actually is. I didn't really think about it like that, bro. They actually all just working for the cartel, huh? That's actually really good to know, because now I know most of these guys are, and like I feel like a lot of these laws, they think they're so ahead of the game because they know, oh, I hang out with this guy and this guy pays me and I'm protected under this guy, you know what I'm saying? But you never know. You never know, bro. I feel like there's always a bigger shark in Mexico, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's always someone that can take somebody, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's always big bank take little bank. At the end of the day, no one's bigger than El Chapo. He's a billionaire, bro. He's a fucking billionaire. He probably has $100 billion, bro. He's a billionaire, bro. He's a fucking billionaire. He has money over money, bro. There's enough money in the Sinaloa cartel and the Guzman family to run for fucking 100 years. Real shit, bro. Real shit. You can flip $1 billion, bro. El Chapo can buy the NBA, dude. El Chapo can buy the NBA and can buy the NFL, bro. Nigga, you can see fucking. It's gonna be private shows for narcos, bro. You're not gonna see the NBA and the NFL or no sports again because El Chapo might buy them all. All right, that's gonna wrap it up the video for you guys. Thank you guys for watching me. If you guys like this type of videos, make sure y'all like and comment and subscribe. And shit, bro. Thank you guys for watching. Comment what type of videos you want me to watch. I'll hit the pen one last time for y'all. Thank you guys, and I'll see y'all later.